I'm Dr. Rachel Doherty. I'm the Assistant Director for Programming and Special Projects. And it's my pleasure to have these three sportsmen with us tonight. This workshop is part of a series that the Center for Louisiana Studies puts on that it's free. And we try to do one once a month. We revived it recently after a 10-year hiatus. Is that right, Camille? Yes, it was dormant for 10 years, so we've revived it. So tonight's workshop, the Sportsman's Paradise in a Changing Environment, is in partnership with an organization called the Bayou Culture Collaborative. So that is a nonprofit initiative of an organization called the Louisiana Folklore Society. I'm the vice president. So if you're into folklore, you can join the Louisiana Folklore Society. You don't have to be an academic. You can come and present at our conferences if you just like folklore and you enjoy doing research or you have stories to tell. But the Bayou Culture Collaborative put together this grant project for culture and climate conversations. So the goal of this is to look at the human dimension of communities where that are threatened by climate change or natural disaster or just things that are changing in the environment at a rate that we have a hard time keeping up with. So we have a lot of state organizations who are looking at combating that or helping people move. But what about the culture? What happens whenever in these areas people have to move and they're separated from their culture? So a good example of that would be French. If you live in a coastal area and your land is disappearing and everybody down there speaks French, what happens whenever you move away? So in this group, we have discussions on how we can help with that. But tonight, we're going to talk about sportsmen's traditions. And so I've asked Dr. Jacob Gautreaux, who is a historian here at UL Lafayette, and he is an expert in the history of the Sportsman's Paradise. I asked him to come and talk to these two renowned sportsmen, Keith Dupuy and Dale Bordelon, both of whom are from Avoyelles Parish. Keith is known for pirogue restoration, and Dale Bordelon is known for his duck calls. All right, y'all.
So Rachel, thank you so much for those introductions. I guess just to get us started off, I was just wondering if y'all could give us a little background where and when you were born and maybe your first kind of experience with hunting and fishing or doing these traditional crafts that you brought here to show us today.
Well, my name is Dale Bordelon, and I'm from Avoyelles Parish, and I was born in 1961, and I just grew up. Since I was a kid, we always spent our weekends in the woods, and I was very fortunate to, and when I was a little boy, they had some old people, and I would sit and hear all their stories, and it was just how many dogs they killed, the feathers, they make pillows, and gig and garfish, so I just took all that to heart, kind of grew up with that, and my age, I hunt like they hunted, or what they taught me, and I'm trying to carry on that tradition. And what I mean is, I make duck calls like the old people out of bamboo. I make dugout pirogues, and I try to keep what I was raised with going in this society, which is something that's just getting so big and fast, it's kind of hard to do so. And so I'm still in the Avoyelles Parish hunting old school. There's been a lot of changes, but I'm just trying to keep the old traditions going.
I was born in Avoyelles Parish also, and at an early age we were hunting, bird hunting with our Benjamin air rifles. My dad hunted and fished. I was getting a private education. They didn't have much money. So we would hunt and fish till we had enough game and fish to eat year-round. And I thought I was one of the richest kids around because of that. Just enjoying those outdoors, and started trapping when I was a kid. I trapped, sold my hides, would even sell squirrel tails. And had an older gentleman in town in Bunkie who would buy our hides and our squirrel tails. And I always had money in my pocket. So it was a wonderful way to live. And when I got married, started having children, I decided, I need to I need to raise them like I was raised. And that's what I did. I got hunting property and fishing property and raised my kids to have an appreciation for this, and they love it, they still do. And it's kept them out of trouble. It was a successful thing. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. And my stepson's the same way. He was raised mostly hunting, and it was hard, but we kept him out of trouble. He's a good kid. So we had a camp in Avoyelles Parish on the Red River, and there was an old man who was a commercial fisherman who was also a boat builder. And as a child, I'd go watch this man build these boats, and always had a fascination with woodwork and especially boats. I built a couple of boats. They were pirogues, not dugouts. I would rather find the old vintage boats and restore them back to better than new condition. But that old man is what sparked my interest in woodworking and boats, and it's been a wonderful life. I still do it. I'm 63 years old, I'm retired, and you can ask my wife Amy. That's what I like to do. Hunting and fishing. The fishing's bad right now. We're in a drought. And the hunting, the deer don't look too good right now. They're not healthy. So
Well, thank y'all for that, but I'd like to take it back a step and maybe talk about the historical framework, if you could, kind of humor me. But Mr. Dale, I was wondering if you could talk about market hunting in Louisiana, what you know about the history of market hunting and how that changed over time.
Yeah, well, that goes back, that went on for 80 to 100 years in the 1800s, but it really took off in the 1880s. The ice plants came to New Orleans, the little communities, the railroad line was built. That way to get rid of these ducks and transport them. So from 1890 and all that, I read a story where in 1910, there was 3 million ducks that went through the French market in New Orleans. So that was probably the peak. Now all that ended after that. Around 1910, they started, well, they had the Lacey Act in the early 1900s. You couldn't bring duck to other states. All that, everything came to end around 1910. But where I grew up, there's a little community, Hesman, Louisiana, and it's a little place called Lake Pearl. I thought that was the only place they had in the world. I've never been too far, but all these old people sold ducks, probably up into the 50s and 60s, that heavily sold ducks, and they sell the feathers, and it just supplemented the income, and I mean, they didn't get rich by it, but it was just a way of trying to make a few dollars, but they sold, they tell me the train used to come through Hesman, and they'd put some ducks on it, and ship them to Ellie. Then the next day they would bring the money to whoever the gunners were. They'd get that money the next day. So one of my old friends, he's in his 90s, he told me in the years ago when he was little, there's a man at Lake Pearl, there's a doctor that wanted 100 ducks. So he killed 100. It was a good day he killed 100 ducks. And he put them on his bed in the bedroom. They didn't have no ice box, or it was cool. They opened the window, the north wind blew on them. So the doctor came, he gave him a $100 bill, $1 duck. When the man left, that fellow looked at that $100 bill. This is a true story. He went to the end of the road. When the vehicle passed, he stopped him. He said, "Can you tell me if this is real?" He said, the fellow said, "I wish I had a barrel of them." He had never seen a $100 bill. People was poor then, and anything to make a few dollars. So, but they did. Where I grew up, that was done a lot. And the feathers, I've saved my feathers too, right here, because I was raised that way. And it takes, that's 50 ducks to make, that's a pound of feathers. It Takes 50 ducks to make, on an average. Takes 100 teals to make a pound, or about 25 miles. Just roughly, I mean, that's estimated. I do it because when I was a little boy, my dad's friends did that, soul feathers. They put it in a bulletin then, and I remember that. So, part of me is, I do it just for the fun. I got a pillow, my boys have a pillow, they just, because that's our heritage. But, now you can't get, if you get caught selling duck, they take your license away, you can't hunt for years. And most people don't want to do that, they like to hunt. They're not worried about the farming, they're worried about the hunting. They can say, I don't mind being a farmer, but don't take my days away, so I don't want to get caught for sure.
I was wondering if you could clear up a legend for me that I've always heard that market hunters in Louisiana didn't use the punt gun. And I always thought that was an interesting kind of a fact that people would tell me, and I never knew the truth of it or not.
The people I know, the stories I've got from South Louisiana, a lot of them old French, the French people done the hunting, and they used Model 12, 97s mostly. They didn't have punt guns. That was on the East Coast. One man came to Lake Salvador, from what I understand, and shot ducks with a punt gun in Louisiana. And that's the only record from the historians that I know of. It was mostly done by dugout pirogues in the marsh. They made a little hole. They bring them a dozen of wood decoys, and they kill all the ducks they wanted. The duck was there to do it. One of the Louisiana's most famous market hunter, Pa Champon. He killed 200 ducks a day. He was hunting for a fella for the market. And he had a dugout pirogue, a Model 97. That's what he used. And they come to Lake Arthur. They had a boat from Loch and Mizag, go to Lake Arthur. They had the barrels, ice house, they'd ice them down and put them on a train and haul them to the French market. And the man shooting the ducks got a quarter. The fella in charge of the lease, they got 50 cents. So the gunner got about half. A lot of market hunting went on in Louisiana. A lot of ducks have been killed that hurt the migration. I can tell you that from what I hear. But there again, there was no money. It was a supplemental income. And they did that gate on. They had a little place they keep enough ducks and the train would come through. When they get a boxcar load, they call them up and they pass the drag, bring them to the French market. It was a big deal. You don't look at that now, it's no big deal, but it was a money thing back then.
Did they use automatic shotguns back then, or was it single shot? Or?
They had single shots, double barrels, 1897s. That was a popular gun, and the Model 12. 97 was a pump and a hammer. It's the first pump gun, Winchester. Winchester came out with 1893. It was the same gun as the 97, but you can only shoot the low power shells. Then they beefed up the mechanism in 1897 that can carry the heavy loads. And that went on through 60 years. They made over $1 million of those shotguns. I hunt with that as of today. One of the best guns I think they ever made. It's got a pump and a hammer. If you shoot 1 or 2 ducks, you have to think, because you put that gun down, it's cocked ready to shoot. It's a very dangerous gun. So you have to pay attention. That happened to me a couple of times. Of course, now I think all the time. I'm so used to it. But so I hunted a dugout pirogue with that old 97, and I have wood decoys myself. It's just to do like that. It's a sport.
That gun wouldn't be too safe today, hunting those blinds where they put 3 or 4 people in.
Oh no, well, they didn't hunt like that back then.
Mr. Keith, I was wondering if you could talk about maybe the history of the boats and how they've transitioned over time, and maybe what their uses were for the different boats as they changed over time.
Well, the boats I'm familiar with that I like to work with, mainly the dugouts, the old 100-year-old boats. It was French and Spanish that perfected some Indian, the Indian technology. The Indians would burn a tree down, then burn a log section of the tree. By burning it, then it would start burning the top of the log and burn for a while, and it would scrape the charcoal out until they had a hollow log, which was their dugout. Use an oyster shell or whatever they could get their hands on. And then the Frenchmen came to town with their metal tools. And at that time they were virgin trees. And the fact that I've been, the way it was explained to me, they would look for a tree that was a minimum age of 500 years. It had the chemical makeup, and they could get the multiple boats out of one section of the tree. They didn't build the boats out the top of a tree, just above the buttress or the bell. And the older trees had good grain structure and abundance of cypressine, which is the chemical inside the cypress tree. So they built dugouts until the end of the cypress harvest, which was around 1925. So at that point, they started building them out of plank, making plank boats. They would mill the trees and build their boats out of plank. And the bateau I have was built in the 20s, and it's a plank boat. And it was used during the cypress harvest in Lake Barrette. It spent 32 years underwater in Lake Barrette, by the way. And you can see the shape of the aluminum boats today. Well, those aluminum bateaus came from these wooden bateaus. It's an almost identical boat. The pirogues started being built out of the planks, and then when the marine plywood came out, which was, I believe, the Higgins boats were the first to use marine plywood. I believe that's what I was told, and I read that. Then they started building the pirogues out of plywood, which is a lot easier than a plank. So, and now you have kayaks and aluminum boats, but Lewis and Clark used hollowed logs, really a pirogue. And it's not, the pirogue is not just about Louisiana, although they're prevalent in Louisiana. These old wooden boats are handmade. They were not using power tools. It was all by hand, and the boats were built specifically for the customer. The boat builder would look at the customer, get approximate weight. He'd position the seats at a certain position in the boat so the boat would ride correctly in the water. It's just transition to, you had the inboards in the bateaus. Before you had the bateau, you had the pirogue, and that was the Model T of the swamp. Then you had the bateau and the rowing skiff. Then at the turn of the century, you had the little inboard engines. And when that came to town in the basin, in the swamps, people were like, man, that's the ticket. So they started adapting them to their boats. And by about the 30s, the little outboards came out, and the outboards were not robust enough to handle the cypress swamps. So they went back to these old inboards and used them until they had perfected the outboard motors. So it's just with the Industrial Revolution, that it just naturally had to move up to where it's motorized. But Dale can tell you, there's nothing like paddling a dugout. It's a heavy boat. It's hard, very hard to load and unload. But once you're in it and in the water, you don't have much freeboard. You're sitting low, but if you just relax and enjoy it, nothing's going to happen to you. It's not going to flip. So, and I have modern boats with modern outboards, but I still love the old stuff.
I was wondering if either of you could talk about the materials that you use whenever you're practicing traditional crafts or restoring boats of whatever caliber you have.
I would have to say sockers.
Yeah.
Sockers for boats, sockers for deco, sockers root, sockers paddles. Louisiana has abundance with sockers, so I think that'd be the main choice of wood.
Yeah. And the way the boats were made back then, like the plywood or plank boats, everything was a nail. And if the boat builders back then would have had access to the chemicals and the fastening devices we have today, they would have used that. You know, and I like to be traditional in my repairs, but I travel with those boats, and they have to be tougher than when they were first made. So that's why I use high-performance chemicals on the boats. They're tough, they don't crack, they don't scratch, and I don't know how well they'll handle an impact on the road, but they're tough boats. They're tougher now than when they were first built. They were built out of green trees, by the way.
I know, like, say a pirogue. When a man builds a pirogue, you start at the nose, you nail it. So when you're coming around the ribs in the middle, you're going to have 22, 23 inches. You start from nothing, you're getting to 23 inches, and it goes back to nothing. The dugouts, I've made several dugouts. I have a 22-inch bottom, probably 8, 9 foot of that boat. So that pirogue, a lot of them, you paddle it does this because you've got one wide spot in the middle. Versus a dugout, like the ones I've built, is 22 most of the boat, most of the way. So it really goes fast. It's a joy to paddle because it paddles so good. It doesn't switch to one side or the other. So I'm not saying from my personal self. These people were very skilled back then to build these boats. There's an art to doing that. Mm-hmm. Like y'all heard the racing boats in the peak. They're long boats, very narrow boats. That makes a good paddling boat. So I tried to implement that in a dugout, narrow and long, and it worked good.
That's why when the boat was being built, they wanted to position the seat in the dugout to where it does, like Dale says, it's the bow's in the water. It acts like a rudder. And if you watch the old paddlers, they weren't just straight back. They would put a twist in there. At the end of the stroke, they'd put a twist in the paddle. And that way, they didn't have to keep switching sides. They could stay on one side and paddle. They put a twist in it at the end of the stroke. And it kept them pretty straight, as long as they were positioned right in the boat.
Could y'all talk about the biggest transitions that y'all have seen in hunting and fishing over your lifetime? From a childhood to your, mid-adult, young adult experience to now?
When I was young, they didn't have four-wheelers or nothing.
Side by sides.
My daddy would go with the old, I don't know, was it 6th Avenue? But anyway, he'd walk. And I went 2 years ago to his old duck range. I paddled my duck like that, but I walked. It was about a 45-minute walk. And they used to kill a lot of ducks. And I can't imagine, he had an old Model 12, and they would walk in and walk out. Now, everybody has gator tails or mud motors or goat devils, and you can get anywhere you want. I don't think people would walk too much anymore like those people. But I like to walk in and walk out. It's very enjoyable, and there's a lot of young people with big motors just riding, and it changed a lot since I grew up. I used to go to Catahoula in the 70s, and we'd go in that millet, and we'd jump shoot in pirogues, and you wouldn't hear a lot of motors being run. And there was a lot of ducks that get up and you'd shoot them. Now it's a lot of boats all over the place, I think. And like South Louisiana and the marsh, people couldn't get to these places, and the ducks would stay. now that's not a place that duck can rest, I don't believe. It's just it's a different, a lot of pressure, a lot of boats, and just a lot more ways to get in and out of the swamp, I've seen, versus when I grew up. There was a lot more ducks when I was young. I knew that people wouldn't have to go far. It's not like that no more.
Yeah.
And that's another issue from way up north, and just a change of farming things. And there's been a big change in my life.
The three-wheeler started it.
Yeah,
The three-wheeler was
Well,
the death of a lot of stuff.
most of y'all know that.
Because that was just like Dale, we walked or paddled everywhere we needed to get to. We walked in and walked out, or paddled in and paddled out. And, you know, when the Honda, what was it, 70? The first three-wheelers, that was the death of a lot of deer and a lot of ducks and squirrels.
I remember the 110s, I don't
Yeah.
know what it started.
And we still walk in and walk out.
This one's for Dale, but I think both of you could speak to it. Duck hunting in particular has been called the king of sport. It's termed that, and I think it rings true today when a lot of people have been shut out of that activity and participating in hunting and fishing kind of overall. So what would you say to those people, but also suggest to kind of keep the tradition going and keep the tradition alive when there's a lot of people that feel they can't participate in that tradition?
It's the king of my sport, I tell you what. I've killed some big deer, and I do everything, but that duck hunting is number one to me. But it's because I hunt, the way I hunt, I enjoy the hunt. I got a little 5-year-old grandson, and he killed his first duck last week. And he come teal hunting with us. And he run up and down the blind with his BB gun. I like that. I mean, I'm introducing a young kid to hunting,
Yeah.
and he's giving me fire to do that. It's tough nowadays though, because the leases cost so much. You got to be a rich man to duck hunt if you're going to get in a club and have the stuff. Most people don't have that kind of money. Me would go. They got some good places in WMAs to go. Now there was a lot of people, but I would go that route. And I know some few holes right now, and you can kill ducks. It depends how bad you want to pursue it. And, as far as me, I'm never going to quit. But this is my 50th duck season just coming up. And when I run across an obstacle, I try to think another way to go at it, where I can enjoy it. But somebody, I don't know, somebody don't have a place to go and get in the club. It just costs a lot nowadays. And everybody's after that almighty dollar, it looks like.
We have an abundance of WMAs, state wildlife management areas, federal wildlife management areas. You know, if you want to work and put in the time to learn it, go to the nearest one. You know, there's what, 53 state and 28 federal. That's a lot of land. It's a lot of land there. A lot of people have a negative idea about that, but myself, my son, we hunt WMAs, and we're successful. They there, go. They don't, most of them won't allow you to, you have to stay on a trail with your off-road vehicle. So you gotta walk, and you gotta learn that area. It's there. That's really the only option you have, unless you do like me and Dale. We had the opportunity to buy into property when property was affordable, and we did that. We sacrificed, but we wanted to raise our kids the way we were raised. And I'd rather pay for some hunting land than go pay a bail bondsman or a lawyer. That's how I look at it.
We got some property, but I'll go with, we go to California, we go all over. I just don't hunt there. It's nice to go other places, and I'm not saying fight with the people, just to go to different places, just to see if you can do it. It's a challenge, and my boys like it. I guess it makes me keep going. I've got 2 boys that it's tough, but we might have to, when you can kill 2 ducks, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's not easy to duck hunt now. You gotta do a lot of things, but there's ways of doing it that you can always go out in a different way.
Duck hunting will be tough this year.
You ain't got much water.
No water. The lake we normally hunt is cut down to 1/4 of its size and can't get to the blinds. You have to have a P-roll. You have to have that.
Yeah.
A mud boat or one. This is a bad year for duck hunting. Bad year for deer too. The deer don't look good.
So you'll bring up a good point. Louisiana is known as the sportsman's paradise, but it seems like the animals at certain times are hard to find or they're under stress. So what do you see as the biggest kind of issue, conservation issue that's threatening the animals or even the plants in Louisiana that will give problems to hunters and fishermen going forward? And do you see any solutions to those problems?
I'm gonna tell you, as far as, I see some dry years, I see some hot winters. And the old people I know, that's been going on for hundreds of years. I don't see, they talk about climate change, and there's been, it's cycles that it goes through. And I'm not a professor by far, but I know my daddy, they keep records, and there was some real hot years, long time, 60, 80 years ago. And next year will be a record cold winter. I think it's just all cycles, but, and I know like at home, that was talking about that earlier, spring bar, Old River. That used to all dry up in the spring. My dad used to tell me all this, and his grandpa, and then they didn't have no levers and dams, and in the springtime you get several little high water that bring all the fish back. And we're in a drought right now, but that needs to happen because there's a lot of floating mats in these lakes that it takes over, and when all that dries up, it cleans that out. I think a place needs to dry up every 2-3 years, so, and it gets it back to normal from what I've known. I don't know, just what you think.
I agree. It needs to happen.
I know
The
back in
following years were always the best years for hunting, duck hunting and fishing.
you might lose your fish that year, but you get water back, you get the fish back again.
That's
You got
right.
Good. I know Lake Pearl, I mentioned, it's a crawfish lake, it's 3,300 acres. They dry it up every year on purpose. They can't do that to let the crawfish bury. I've never seen a grass problem in that lake. I never seen floating mats, and they kill ducks to this day. And it used to be, I used to hunt in the back of Spring Bar in the 70s and 80s. It was like that back then. Now it's all choked up. Places have to dry up now and then. And it's just a way of Mother Nature that I experienced that down the road it helps something else.
That's all the questions. I don't know if y'all wanted to talk or had anything else to say on that last question, but I'd also like to open it up to the audience for any questions that people may have or may have thought of during the previous questions or the conversation that we've been having so far.
So the duck feathers you collected, what would you use them for?
To make pillows. I've been doing that for 15 years, and I give them. One year I had 33 sacks. Now that's not one year killing ducks. That's me and my boys, and that was about 3 years. And my wife got mad at me. It was in that her little room out there. And then she, man, you going to do something with the feathers? And one day she got mad, so I put it, you can't sell feathers, but I put it in the market bulletin. If anybody wants some feathers, I'll give them away. But I had made my pillows and whoever. So this woman contacted me, She was teaching a home ec class. And she said, man, I sure like to have it for my students. I said, tell you what, man, you send me your address, I'll send you the whole bag. So I said, I marked it all up in a box and got rid of it. But I keep enough now to make me one pillow a year. I make one for me, got one at the camp, my kids, or whoever wants one. I'm just doing that to keep a little heritage going, and that's all. You gotta keep them a year in the dark. I'll put them in a little shed with no light, and you gotta age that. Or if you shoot a bunch of ducks and there's blood in them, you gotta wash them. I'll wash them in Dawn soap and fluff them up in them sacks. And there's no stems in those, it's all down. You just take right here, and gray ducks, after Christmas on, gray ducks make the best pillows. They're always full of. Can't use a darkened duck. Gotta use a puddle duck.
How many ducks to make one pillow?
Close to 200. That's wood ducks, mallards, teals. That's a big bag, you know. I counted how many mallards, and I put just mallards. It takes about 25, but mallards got a lot, or great ducks. Great ducks take a little more, but it takes 100 teals. It takes 50 ducks, I said that a while ago, to make a 1 pound of feathers.
So 2 pounds for a pillow?
It depends what size pillow. I have an old Marnes 18 by 25, I believe. I use that old blue ticket. I try to do everything old school. I even got an old lady that sold that for me. I want to tell y'all a story. I had an old friend, his name was Sammy Poncho, and he shot ducks in Lake Pearl. And before they had Frigidaires, they would put them in the well, the water well. It was cooler, and they last 4 or 5 days longer. And when they get 100 or 150, then he go to New Orleans and sell them. His brother-in-law had a store, hardware store, and he said they opened up, and that was in the 40s and 50s, and nobody would do it. They would let him do that. But he told me the first gun he ever bought, it was 1932. He went in a local store, and they had a 97, and they asked him, I said, how much that gun cost? Him and his daddy, he was 12 years old, Sammy. The man said, they gun $26. And Sammy said, the daddy said, I ain't got that kind of money. So the man said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll let you have the gun, but you pay me back on so many mileage. And that man had a glass case with some block darts. So Sammy would go, he was 12 years old, shoot ducks. And every time he goes to that store, that man was selling his ducks in that glass box. He liked them, I don't know how many ducks that man's money he made off of him with that gun. But I hunted with him about 35 years ago. And I thought you had to have the loudest call duck hunting to be a duck hunter. And I did. And we hunted one day, and he pulled out an old call. It was old, this is not it, but it was old. I said, that man must not be much of a hunter. He's got that old call. Well, I worked some duck. I called duck with that loud call. Then he called. Let me tell you what. He taught me how to soft call ducks. And he was, in those days, they was landing 30, 40, 50 to a box and waiting for the right time to shoot them. But you had to know how to do that with your duck call. And I'm gonna show you what, if it's all right, I'm gonna show you what he taught me. I think it's kind of neat because this is how me and my boys hunt, and we kill a lot of ducks. We hunt in the woods, in the nasty woods, and it's some small openings. Them old people used to tell me that shot ducks and sold ducks. It's hard to kill a duck in a field every day. You can kill them one day, not the next. But if you're hunting in the woods, in the buttonwoods, you can kill them every day. Because those ducks are coming in there for cover. And so that's why, and we kill ducks. When there's ducks, we do good. This is what I'm talking about, what he taught me. This is just a regular loud call. Now this is a soft call like he would have. Listen to the difference. That's how Sammy Ponche called ducks. And I know he used to kill them on a saw. It's not this call, but one just like that. So I made one hunt with him 35 years ago, and that was a life experience to teach me the proper way to duck hunt like the old people used to hunt. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. That's how we hunt, me and my boys, and we're very successful. We don't start balling or we don't call loud. And about 150 yards, they can hear you. And you can work them and do pretty good with it. So that's the story of Sammy Ponche's duck hunt.
You're saying Ponte or Ponch?
Huh?
What's the last name of it?
Poncho. Poncho.
Ponte.
He could hardly speak English. And he didn't hunt, the last hunt he made, he killed a speckled belly with a band. And them old people didn't care about bands or mountain ducks, and he gave it to me. And I used to bring him ducks for years until the last time I went, he was 95, 96 in the assisting living, and he would speak French. That's all he spoke. And he tell me to let him out, and he'd go kill them. So I treated that. He killed a lot of gray duck, mallards, and pintails for the owners. He had lost his mind, and we left. And I felt bad, but on the way home, I said, you know what? That's a blessed man. Huh?
Yeah. To do it till that age.
Yeah, we're talking about the economy of duck hunting and, you know, how it's expensive and everything. And we started talking about the lady, you know, you got somebody that the lady will sew the fillet cases for you or whatnot, all these different things you can do. People used to go shoot the ducks and sell them for, you know, for the meat. So I noticed something around Gaudon that I don't notice like around Spring Bayou, Cataboo Lake, other places. They'll advertise for duck plucking services, big time down there. And is that common? I don't see that, you know what I mean? Like you've been around there, you see the signs everywhere in town, and the people they have a little bit more money on their hands. They go hunting in the nice, you know what I mean, in the ponds and everything, and they take their ducks, and people pay like $4 or $5 a duck, maybe $7 or $8 a goose, something like that. But the only place I've ever really seen that is Gaudon. Is that historically? Did you ever see a lot of that?
We used to hunt over there, and I've seen that. And from the local people, that goes back from years ago. They killed a lot of ducks, but they're not killing the ducks they used to kill now. Now they might still be doing that, but I don't
They
think.
still do for sure.
Yeah, well.
But anywhere else, have y'all ever noticed like that?
Not around us.
I've seen it in Forked Island before.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
With signs and all,
Yeah, it was a sign.
advertising. That's cool.
There's always somebody with a duck plucking machine. And I happen to like cleaning my own game.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Well, when I was a little boy, well, right now you can go buy them decoy weights. My dad would never do that, I can tell you. We use spark plugs, nuts, whatever. He didn't hire nobody to plug no duck. I was raised like, I'm not gonna hire nobody, I'm gonna plug my own. But Corn Island, they had people that, they would do that over there. Yeah, that's rich people going and sport, they call it, or whatever. People that like to spend money. I'm not doing that. I can plug up my hand. I have a duck plucker, but it's mostly me and my two boys it's 4 of us. And what you're looking at, 6 ducks a piece. So when we get back to the camp, we get a bite to eat, whatever, then we go and start. It don't take long. I like plucking ducks. That means you got a good hunt.
You know you got the same type of shot.
That's right. Well, usually what I do, I go through and get my feathers before they start. I'll throw it down, I'll grab it up, and then they start plucking. But it don't take long. You sit down and talk about the hunt while you're plucking.
And we don't like cooking skinned ducks. That skin,
No.
that skin's a big part of it.
I went to several places last year hunting. Mississippi, North Mississippi. I went to West Texas. None of those people plucked ducks. I plucked them. I went to Texas. I bought my duck. I put my ducks in a duck barrel. All those guards. You gonna pluck your ducks? Yeah. Oh well. I'm not skinning them. They don't bake ducks like we bake them. They ask me how you cook that, you know. You bake them whole in a gumbo. If it's a teal, it's a wood duck. I cut it in half. Big ducks, I cut it in 4. Or pot roast. Come out to try some of that. When we got back, I kept mine to the side, and they were skinning, throwing their legs away. So what you doing with that? We're making some poppers. So what? Some poppers. They wrap that with bacon. I said, man, you're wasting a duck. That don't make no sense. But I was raised like that. My dad would run you out the house if he saw that.
Yeah.
But then again, he was born in the 20s, they was raised poor, so I was raised with all that influence.
Our parents even ate the squirrel heads, the brains, the tongue. We'll figure that one out.
Hey, how about like your gizzards? You know, like when you clean your gizzards out? So like, is that something maybe that's changed over time that you can see? Like, you know, when you cut your gizzard open, you can see what they've been eating.
Rocks.
Maybe sometimes though, you know, it'll be in an agricultural field somewhere eating something. Is that something that y'all have noticed change over time? Like,
I don't look at the gizzard too much when I clean it. You know, maybe every now and then, but I'm worried about scanning it to cook. But
Skinning the gizzard.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. And most of y'all older hunters know this. In the 70s, we would kill. There was more poor ducks than now. Great ducks, a lot of spoonbills. People wouldn't eat spoonbills because they was poor. And now with all the agriculture, I don't see many poor ducks. They all fat, spoonbills, whatever you kill. They look like they're healthy. They got a lot, everybody planting stuff for the ducks. And I find, my personal self, I have a friend that hunts 3 miles from us. He got a lot of agricultural land for ducks or whatever, and they don't kill a lot of ducks. And my personal self, I find these ducks are so heavily pressured. I think they feed most at night, and then at daylight they start going to them nasty places, cover. That's why we hunt. They go hang out till about dinner time, then they go back in the evening, feed again. I think them ducks learned that, the pressure, and so they move a little bit after shooting hours, leaving the field before. So while I'm hunting, we're doing very well so far. I mean, you got good and bad years, but we kill a good bit of ducks. But there's some holes big as this room. We got some little one man. I have a big blind that shoots 4 people, but we have this little just across from us in those buttonwoods. And you can see the ducks wanting to, so that's when we go in there. Works out good.
We got time for about 1 or 2 more questions.
I want Keith to share a story of what you taught your kids as a true sportsman of how they honor the animal.
No, we don't take any bad shots. Just like the Indians did. The Indians honored the animals that they took. I mean, it was a gift from their God and our God. We don't hunt horns. We like to eat our meat. We like to shoot. If it's a deer, we like a doe. We love ducks. We love squirrels. They don't kill over the limit. We all, including Johnny, we hunt traditional. We bow hunt. Just, you know, we thank God for our kill. We pose the animal. We don't disgrace it. We don't waste any part of it. And it's just, it was a good thing for them. Teach them respect animals and respect other people. But you know, we're not going to kill over the limit, and it does a lot for a person's ethics to learn how to treat the animals right. Always treat the animals right. Don't disgrace the animal. We even tan the hides.
Amen.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I just have one question. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on the potential reintroduction of a lottery hunt for black bears and you know,
All for it.
All for it.
All
Yeah.
for it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If y'all go
We
back
hunt-
into the history a little bit.
Where we hunt, it's where they were originally planted, which is, he hunts on the west side of Lake Ophelia, and I hunt on the east side of Lake Ophelia.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, when they had fires in Louisiana in the old days, now this is coming from the old hunters and all, there was a lot of big woods back then. There's no more big woods. Everybody's got camps all over. That's about half the woods they used to have from the 50s. I don't think that was a good idea, my personal self.
No.
But I think it's a good idea to hunt them, yeah.
Definitely.
That's my opinion on it.
And
Now there are big woods around here.
what it's doing, I know where I hunt, we don't feed anymore. We used to feed. And now it's if we feed, it's protein. And we plant heavy food plots, which is really good for the deer. You know, get away from a 55-gallon drum full of corn. You got down where you're hunting, your deer hunting, you're gonna have a bear. And they're gonna knock it down. I don't care how secure you think you got it. They'll eat enough of it to where they start vomiting. They'll get back up and go eat some more and then vomit. And deer don't like black bears. So, I'm all for a season. And a fella told me 10 years ago, it would be 10 years before we had a season. Guess what? 10 years.
But them bears all over the place.
Yeah, they are. My ex-brother-in-law shot one. He lives in Port Allen. Port Allen's a town. And something had been destroying eating his dog food, tearing up the trash, and he goes out, he hears a noise, he goes outside one night, and in a tree, there's something in the tree, way up in a tree, and he looks down at him, he shoots it in the face with a .410 shotgun. Well, it's a black bear. He shoots it, and he blinds it, so he calls the Wildlife and Fisheries, and they flipped out over it. They didn't arrest him, but they took everything he had. The next day they came back, the bear had been relocated several times. It was a nuisance bear. They let him off the hook. But to make it into a town like that, that's kind of weird. I'm not scared of them. I just don't like them messing my hunts up. I'm not scared of them. They're not going to hurt you unless you have to corner one. So.
I found it interesting, just real quick. I hunt in Woodville, Mississippi.
Yep.
And so Mississippi Fish and Game collared a bear on the property. They were just doing some trapping and some research. And they tracked the bear crossing the big river, across the basin, and then now he found his home range south of New Iberia. So,
Right.
I was amazed
And that's
to
something-
see the
They move.
migration. Oh yeah.
Do we have any more questions from the audience? Okay, if we don't have any more questions, I want to thank Mr. Dale and Mr. Keith for wonderful
problem.
answers and the wonderful conversation that we've had.
And thank you, Jacob. Y'all, thank you so much for coming tonight. I want to ask y'all to fill out a couple of surveys. So the Bayou Culture Collaborative, who sponsored this event, they have a short survey. It's on paper. Come see me. But I'll give you one of these cool flyers if you fill them out. So they just want it. It's just information on how you heard about it, so that they can continue to sponsor events like this. Thank you so much, Keith and Dale and Jacob, and thank you all for coming to our workshop. We can't wait to put on more like this and to support sportsmen and young historians who want to study this topic. But y'all go around and y'all can go around and look at the artifacts and the items that they brought. Talk to Keith and Dale for about another half hour about what they've brought, and yeah, enjoy yourselves.
And I can tell you, if y'all would come to our camps during hunting season, you wouldn't want to leave.
Is that an invite?
Especially Dale.
Yeah, I want to tell y'all one thing before I go. This young man, Nicholas Lemoyne, he's 18 years old, and he's building a dugout pier, not with one power tool, just like the old days of the 1800s. And I'm helping him, and he's going to have, hopefully he'll go somewhere with this in his career. But I know of 2 men doing that right now, around 80. I'm myself, but and I'm proud to carry that tradition on with him.
Well, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Dale's gonna sing a song.